Hi everyone, it's Nadia and Jake, Buddy and Sedona, and today we're going to be talking about Black Adam. You know, it's going to be an interesting review because I can tell that Jake and I feel very differently about the film.
Yeah, I feel like you were pretty positive on it after watching it, and then today you were asking me questions. You were like, I don't remember anything that happened.
Well,
you had to refresh a little bit.
Yeah. I had to think about the film but I think that it was a very feel good kind of old school action film.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It was the best superhero movie of 2013 or maybe even 2009. Doing just the same old that we've been seeing for the past decade or two, you know.
Well, I think honestly, and people will hate me for this, but I think this is common in a lot of DC movies.
A symptom of DC as a brand having this inferiority complex with Marvel that ever since I feel like they started with, Man of Steel, ever since they tried to build their cinematic universe, they just keep landing on their face because they're trying to do something different with Zack Snyder, or then they're like, no, but we want to make a Justice League thing, but they're trying to do it too fast and not build the characters, and it's so obvious they're trying to do Marvel, and they're just going off in all these different directions that now they're giving us something that's like Captain America or Thor. They're trying to do something with Black Adam or like Iron Man, it's trying to be this thing that's edgy, but also safe and also epic and in cool action, and also with funny side characters, with the quippy Marvel. It was so Marvel. It just felt like they were trying to do. We've been seeing a million of those. Every superhero movie is like this now. And while I honestly didn't hate it because it was just so by the numbers, and it was hard to sit through because it was okay, here's this part. Can we get to it? It was a movie. At least it was a movie. Look at Thor: Love and Thunder. That was not a movie. That was a bunch of TikToks stitched together. At least this was a story. Was it that interesting? No, but it was a movie.
I will say I was very interested when I was watching it. I really liked the film. I just think that it's very easily forgettable because of what you just stated. However, I was engaged. I felt like the formula, even though it was repetitive and it's very traditional, sometimes you need that, a successful formula, and they applied it, and I think they executed it really beautifully. It wasn't as black and white as, it otherwise could have been. So in a way, it's not necessarily into formula. I think there is some, now that I'm thinking about it more, it's no, it is taking away from formula a little bit, because he's not, The Rock doesn't play our true hero in the traditional sense, the movie states that you're not.
But we've been seeing this archetype of I'm not the real hero. It's the same kind of hero's journey of first they reject being the hero, then they become the hero. He's still a good guy. But it's not
even just that. Yes, he is. But I think it's okay, heroes are not supposed to do this. They're not supposed to do that. And it's more I think it started more like Suicide Squad in one man.
No, look, even further back, when did Hancock come out with Will Smith? That was more of a comedic version, but it's he's a dirtbag hero, and it's
good point.
Different sort of thing. But we've been seeing this over and over, and it's a very common thing at this point.
So what would you rate it?
Look, okay, I don't think it was terrible. I thought that it the action was pretty entertaining, and there were some good moments, that hit. It wasn't anything new or unique, but it was okay, at least it was somewhat entertaining, even though it was extremely formulaic and predictable. I think the people who are going over the top saying it's the worst movie ever made, it's so garbage, I think that's pretty hyperbolic.
People are actually saying that?
There are people who are saying it's horrible. It's it's just a nothing. It's just really bland to me. And I feel it could have been really interesting. I feel the concepts it was setting up, about this nation that's talking about imperialism and a nation trying to find its identity with the superhero and trying to match that. I thought that was an interesting thing. But of course, all of these DC, Marvel, mega Hollywood movies, we have to end up siding with normality, with our typical placating everyone, not do anything offensive, not try to make any statement, just totally
Hold
nonsense.
on, that's
the
not
political message of the movie just gets watered down by the end of it.
But I do think there is some things to give it a credit. Like, I don't think it's about a nation trying to find its identity. I think it's trying to find its autonomy
Yeah, well,
and
that's what I mean.
agency.
It's trying to,
because the thing is that it does have an identity. Their identity and their resources is being stripped. So, and it does go into political message of like these superheroes who come from the Justice Society. They're pretending to be superheroes and saving everyone, yet they have not intervened. Literally, people who are dictating them and who are making it so that they are going to be eventually left with nothing. And does pose the question of like, okay, you're supposed to be the good guy, yet you are not.
This is what I'm saying, though. They pose the question, but they aren't giving any follow through. They're just saying, like, oh, Justice Society, like, yeah, they're invaders too, and they're trying to uphold the status quo, which is harming this nation and not giving them their autonomy.
It does make it a little murky.
It makes it so murky. And then by the end, it's like The Rock, Black Adam, he's supposed to be the symbol for their independence, their freedom, from oppression. And by the end, of course, and I knew this was going to happen because the Justice Society, they're heroes. They have to be the good guys too. We have to root for them. So they're just like the good, so-called, like they're well-meaning, but they still want to uphold oppression, And at the end of the day, it comes down to Black Adam having to become part of this system. He has to play by the rules and not, do so. It becomes muddled, and by the end of it, you can feel the movie just trying to it's like trying to suggest these themes, but at the end, it's just kind of be like, let's not talk about it in detail. It's more about there's a red beam in the sky now, and it's less about the people who are who have been oppressing the country and these systems of oppression. It's about there's a demon and there's a red beam in the sky and people from the underworld.
Well, it starts out this way, but I think that
it's just the same kind of third act nonsense that just kind of like relieves all tension in the movie that all of these superhero movies have.
Did you rate the movie?
I'd give it like a 4.
My God. Okay.
What would you give it?
Like a 6.5 to 6.8.
Why so specific? Can't round? We don't want to round it up?
Well, it's not a 7.
All right.
I do think, and then the reason why, I would say right after I watched the film, it was probably a solid 7 for me. But then as I started to think about it, I was like, maybe it was 7 because it was using some traditional trope. I felt nostalgic for my childhood. I grew up watching, just kind of liked seeing those characters there. Then I thought about it yesterday, and then today as we're doing the review, it's not very memorable, is it? Like, it's really not something that I'm going to think about again unless I see it on TV.
No, it was just what it was, and I think part of it is that...
And I think that's exactly what it is. It is what it was, and it just... I do want to state things that are memorable from the film as I think about it in the spoiler section, but yeah.
I think that a big problem also is like Dwayne Johnson he's a charismatic guy, he's a huge actor and he's playing a role that extremely one note and not charismatic at all. Like he's just this stoic hero. Like there's nothing really there for him to work with in like a fun way that could make this like, a fun Dwayne Johnson movie, Trying to get the best of both worlds with having these side characters, the Justice Society and like the Atom guy or whatever, the guy who's like Ant-Man basically, making jokes and doing that sort of stuff. So it's like it's trying to be all these things at once, and it has enough of these elements and it knows, the structure, like there's structure to it, unlike Thor: Love and Thunder. But I mean, like I would say that at the end of the day, like, yeah, this is a more competent movie. Like there are some fun action scenes, like there's the cliche, needle drop moments of like having Paint It Black play while he's killing a bunch of people, like it's so what you'd expect, that it's just like you will forget about it the next morning. Like
You've grown
but it's just
very
fine.
cynical with movies about superhero, I must say.
Because I feel like they're just playing it so safe, and they aren't taking any risks at all, and it's just
Well, but like,
and all, especially at this stage when there's so many of these superhero movies and the myth has been constructed and deconstructed and gone this way and that way, and then it's like, here's this thing that's just like, okay, it feels like just anything else. It's like any other thing, but with slight different differences in it. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm just so tired. I'm so tired.
So I would like to know in the spoiler section what you would have liked to see change.
Like in the story itself?
Yeah, whatever you mean by that.
Okay,
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
So I'm going to go to spoilers and talk about that.
Let's go to spoilers. If you want to see it before spoilers, click off. But anyways, let's talk about Black Adam. So things that could have made it more interesting, I think, would have been if his character was actually like bad, or like actually an anti-hero, like he actually didn't care about killing people like he does clearly, like from the beginning. Like he's just killing like the violent guys, the people who are oppressing the country. Like there's supposed to be this like, ooh, is he good or bad? But it's so obvious the whole time, you know?
You want him to be Damon from the House of the Dragon.
No. I just want him to have actual moral issues with him, or I want him to be how he is now, but I want the Justice Society, which, as far as I know, this is the first time we've seen them in, the DC universe. I want them to not be the cute, side characters with like emotional connections and whatever in their little thing, who they're just doing Marvel. Like they were just like the little Marvel world coming in, I'd like it if maybe they actually were bad guys, or not totally bad guys, but we get to see like the extent to which their system is harming actual countries, and how this system of trying to uphold the status quo is actually bad, and how Black Adam becoming like standing up against them would be a wonderful thing. And while we may see their perspective, and while we may root for them in other movies, this movie is about Black Adam and their country, and not fighting off some kind of demon tyrant thing, but getting liberated,
Well, I 110% agree with that, because I think that what I hated about the film, or at least disliked, is that there were no choices made.
Mm-hmm.
In characterization of people. And I think it kind of like alluded to people are good and bad. But I don't think when you look at the Justice Society, I think it maintains like perception. Hey, we're still the good guys. We are the way.
Yeah.
But there's so many.
It goes against the message.
There's so many
so
flaws that is pointed out in the beginning, what they lack to do as quote unquote heroes. Yet it's not followed up upon. And I feel like The Rock's character background is used, right? His misguidance in the past, thousands of years ago, is used almost as a way for the Justice Society to win, because they have to, because they're heroes. I think when Hawkman was found out the truth about Black Adam's past, about how his son was the true hero and had given him the power at the end, and he's not the guy in the statue. I think it was very like it was very easy surrender, because it's like, oh yeah, I knew I was right. It's because the Hawkman, the whole thing is like he doesn't give up. He is relentless. He's a true hero, because even though he doesn't have power as much as some of the other people, he'll never give up, and he'll never stop fighting. And I just kind of feel like they overdid it a little bit, because he never apologizes or acknowledges like how they have been ignoring the suppression of these people for their own personal use of being politically aligned with a global power, basically.
The whole thing when he's like put into cryogenic sleep, and how this was like, I think that would have been more interesting if it was like what if we saw the kid who was like it seems almost like it got forgotten, like the kid started to side with the Justice Society once they got introduced, whereas earlier it seemed like, no, like screw you, the Justice Society, they're not actually helping us, Black Adam is. And I thought that was interesting, to actually have this question raised, and they clearly were trying to raise that when the mom is like talking about that and the son is talking about that, and then when Black Adam is like, he surrenders and is put into cryogenic sleep, we don't, like, what if we saw a scene of the kid being like, what are you doing? You can't take him. He's our hero, you know? Like, but no, he's on the Justice Society ship getting a cape or whatever.
Oh yeah, I thought that was so bizarre.
And instead he just goes without a fight and they just don't care. And they're just like, okay, yeah, just go to cryogenic, like go sleep.
I just thought with the kid especially, it's like he was really mentoring the hero into how to be a hero. They had like shared a real connection. I feel like Black Adam is reminded of his son that he lost through him, and I think he is almost fulfilling as like a fatherly figure in a loose sense. And so it's so like bizarre. I remember watching them like, what the heck? So you just got your life saved. You said you believe in this hero and you come to yet again believe in the hero, but you are okay with him just like never being imprisoned in this place. And now you're all of a sudden just like, oh yeah, I get to be a Superman. Oh yeah, you know, he was just a temporarily replacement. Everything I said about how he can be a true hero it doesn't matter anymore because I'm with the real heroes now.
No, and it could have been more impactful, you know, when finally he breaks out of like his cryogenic sleep and then says Shazam, it just feels like, yeah, we know he's coming.
Well, what did you think about the villain?
He was fine, you know, up until he like was just like in hell and then becomes a demon and all these skeletons going. It's just like, what was his mode? What was he trying to do here? Like, what was his goal?
His goal was that he's the
take
only
over the world.
Yes, he was the only living descendant of this ancient king.
And then Black Adam, at the end he sits on the throne and he said, you know, how does it feel? Wrong. Then he smashes the throne and it's like symbolic, but it's also like, well, what's actually going to happen to the country? They're just going to be under the same.
No,
control.
They're not.
Like, how are they actually liberated? Like what?
Yes, that's exactly the point at the end, that they are liberated because he's gonna stay. He's not gonna be put under again, and he's going to actually like protect the country like he was meant to do. So it does turn around all the way through because of that. At the end, he's literally, there is a scene in after credit where Amanda Waller basically warns him, hey, you can remain in your country and not ever leave these borders, and we're not going to hurt you. If you ever leave these borders, then we're going to get someone really powerful to come after you. And Black Adam is like, who's going to beat me? And then Superman comes, you know? I do want to say one thing with a villain that did work well for me is that in the beginning, you didn't really know who the villain was, and it was nice that the villain was like a close family member.
It didn't seem significant to me. Like, it just didn't seem like we didn't have he just wanted to be in control the country, you know, but wants to go to hell and get the demons out for some reason. He wanted to go to hell. They turned the crown around and he wanted to go to hell because that's when, just like the wizards who gave Black Adam power, or his son power, by saying Shazam, he had to be transported into this heavenly world for him to get the power. The demon had to be killed by Black Adam in order to be transported to hell. Yeah, I get that, but I still think he's a weak character because he's just motivated towards being in charge. And it was also too late in the story that I just didn't feel enough of a connection to him as a villain. Like, I get what was happening, like I know, but it was just because he just wanted to be in charge, and it was just like a last minute thing in the story where it didn't feel like, I mean, look at Black Panther. Like, I think Black Panther is a good character, a villain, you know, because we have an idea of what he is motivated towards, you know, like we can see where he's coming from.
There's a valid point to his background, whereas like a villain in this film is just like, hey, it's my birthright. Well, I don't have anything else to say. I think that's all I have to say. What about you?
A total mix. It's just a corporate thing, you know, and it does its job, but it's nothing unique. I just didn't really care for it that much. There were moments in the movie where I could be engaged during certain action scenes. Through a lot of it, I just kept sitting there thinking, you know, like, wonder how much more is left.
I didn't wonder that at all. I actually forgot about time while I was watching it, and I really enjoyed it. I just think it's forgettable because it is a very overused storyline and storyline arc. That doesn't mean, in my opinion, you shouldn't watch it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you next time.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.